Everyone talks about ad budgets and creative for Black Friday. Almost nobody talks about what's happening in your nervous system while the dashboard is flashing red. Today's guest burned out twice in performance marketing before discovering that doing less, not more, is often the highest leverage move a high performer can make. We're talking Q4 stress, campaigns gone sideways, and how to actually stay steady when everything's on the line. Hey, you're listening to Master the Inbox, the podcast where course creators, coaches, and consultants learn how to sell with email in a non spammy way. I'm your host, Monica Badiou, conversion strategist, copywriter, and course creator. And today, along with my guest, Rita Ainsworth, we're going to go deep into running ads in Q4. We're talking the good, the bad, and the ugly, including how mindset can impact results. Now, my guest is very cool. She spent over a decade in performance marketing. She did burn out twice before walking away at the peak of her career. That sent her deep into the science of stress and a counterintuitive discovery. Doing less is often the highest leverage thing a high performer can do, and I relate to that, and she has helped me over the years see how I can tap into that. So she now coaches founders, operators, and marketers on how nervous system state shapes performance, decisions, and leadership. She runs her own coaching practice on that same principle, state before strategy, and helps her clients build theirs the same way. I'm pretty excited for today. So, welcome, Rita. So glad to have you on the show. And we're going to jump straight into some of the most delicate questions. Because for someone who's never run paid ads in Q4, they have no idea what's coming over the next months. So, what's different about this time of the year versus running campaigns any other month?
First of all, thanks for having me. It's so good to have this conversation with you. So, if people haven't run ads in Q, they jumping straight in, they would be a little bit in for a shock because everyone in e-commerce, big brands like Nike and Adidas and all the big guys who run branding campaigns, they use this period for the advertising, as well as all small businesses, course creators, coaches. And the cost of advertising almost doubles. I was looking at one of my coaching clients' ads I ran last year, and where the normal CPMs, so cost per 1,000 impressions, in September was around 60. During Black Friday and then December, it was around 9,500. So it's a massive difference. Like, you pay so much more to be in front of your ideal customer scrolling on Facebook or Instagram.
So, in your experience, what's a sign that you should maybe pull back? Or how do you adapt your strategy when you see costs going so high? Specifically, now that we know Q4 means there's a lot of competition, same audience gets targeted by multiple advertisers, they have more money put into their budget. So, what do you actually do? How do you handle that?
Yeah, I think a lot of businesses running Facebook ads, they think, oh, this is my audience. 30 plus women who are interested in, let's say, fitness. But your audience is the exact same audience if you're, let's say, a course creator who sells fitness programs. But this same audience is also a supplement brand's audience who sells supplement brands. And it's also the same audience of a, let's say, accessory brand who sells handbags. So everyone is competing for the same attention of the same woman, 30 plus, interested in all of these things. And at the end of the day, that person's resources, money that they have to spend during Q4 are limited. Like, I have an idea what maybe I would like to buy in a sale. There's something that is super expensive normally, but I know that sale is gonna come and I'll be able to buy something like luxury item that is now affordable. So we have to think of how can we compete and position our program, our offer, in a way that stands a chance against supplement, against handbag, against jewelry, against anything else that person wants to buy and has just a pot of money. You do this every day for your clients. How do we know so much about this person that it'll be easy for them to make that decision? It's like, I really want your program. Like this program that you are selling as a bundle, as whatever offer it is more important to me, who I am as a person, how I'm gonna transform, than let's say a pair of shoes. So it comes back to basics, like how well do you know your audience and how well do you position what you are selling? Because competition is higher, of course, but also buying intent is higher during that period. But offer is everything. During that Q4, how you gonna convey the value, but whether it's real value or perceived value, like you really need to pull all the stops. There's no holding back during Q4.
So it sounds like ad creative, buyer psychology, research a lot. How about mindset? When you were talking about how you would want to buy one thing, but then there are so many other advertisers who are basically competing for the same resource, which is attention and then money, it's a little bit demotivating, right? Because it's like I'm selling a course on, I know, email marketing, and then here are these other brands, maybe the big ones, maybe ASOS, Amazon, everybody basically in the world who's like, we have the money and we have the team and we have the luxury to actually go and invest this much money into making sure that we come on top when it comes to impressions, right? So in my mind, both as a small business owner who doesn't have that large budget, like, is it even worth it to spend on ads in November? Or is there something else I should be doing earlier on to make sure that when that rush actually hits, I do have some kind of chance to stand out from the crowd? Because I can't compete with like my $5 per day with someone who's investing $1,000 per day. And I know you have worked with large budgets, so the mindset difference must be huge.
Yes, you really want to build your audiences before Black Friday. So if someone's just deciding that end of November comes and they want to run Black Friday sales, it's probably not gonna be a great idea because most sales happen on retargeting. So the ads you have ran, and it doesn't need, necessarily need to be ads. It has to be your audience that you build on social media, your email list. If you're doing a lot of organic content, then you are building those audiences, people who liked your pages, people who viewed your videos, who saved your posts. So if you're already doing this work every month in and months out, you will have retargeting audience. You ideally would have some sort of lead generation campaign going that builds high quality audiences. And I don't recommend people run lead gen for lead gen's sake. Put a tripwire offer behind it, so at least you know that the ads are driving high quality leads for you and you're making a little bit of money back, and that's paying for your ads in the run up to the Black Friday. So then you will have a bigger email list to promote to. You will have all of the ads count towards the video views and all those warm audiences that you're gonna then retarget to. And then also you include a little bit of cold. So once they has these signals who is a possible buyer, then it will be easier for them to go to the wild world and find more of the cold buyers. So it's really important to run some sort of audience engagement throughout the year. So then you're not starting from scratch as you tell your clients to run offers and sales via emails. You can use that data to see what offers worked, like what resonated, what didn't resonate. And with all that data, you build a really compelling offer for people. You give them the transformation that they want. So you figure out what that is, and that's how you compete against big brands. It's triggering that emotional response. It's not about how much you can invest in video production. It's about the transformation that you can offer and how well you position that. How valuable is your course, your bundle to your ideal target audience?
I think early saves you the overwhelm and sleepless nights in November, right? But hearing you speak about this, I'm a little bit envious because with the email marketing campaigns, it's like it's happening live. I actually don't sleep those nights because I'm looking at the data. Are the spam complaints going higher than usually? How about bounce rates? How about opens, engagement? All of that. It's very stressful. And I wonder, have you ever been involved in a Black Friday campaign where results were really connected to how the ads were running in the short term rather than having a few months of implementing the strategy, collecting the data, refining the ads creative?
So with Black Friday, one is the prep. Like you prep and you have a hypothesis how you're gonna go. And then you put it in front of people and then they tell you is what you have planned actually resonates or not. So there's always going to need micro adjustments. Even when you prep, you still need to be able to adjust in the moment. And I think that's why the mindset is so important. I've seen people wanting to give up. I was like, okay, this is not working. After day one, it's like they already want to say this comes through the window and I give up. It's like, no, you can pivot, especially these days with all the softwares. It's so quick to make a new batch of creatives and set them up. It's like it can take hours. And it's slightly more complicated if you're a media buyer working with a brand or a business, because there's more communication and decision making and all that. But if you are the one who is making decisions and who then asks for implementation, either someone else or you doing the implementations, that can be quick. So you need to hold your nerve to gather enough data to see, is this working for me? And then you also need to not wait too long and pivot. And it's harder for people who are brand new and they haven't run any ads whatsoever, because most of the data, is it working or is it not working, you base on past campaigns. So Black Friday campaign should be working either as well as your evergreens or ideally better. So you know, okay, what is usually the conversion rate from landing page view to add to cart? What is conversion rate from add to cart to purchase? So once you have this, what you call the leading indicators, you will know what will be the lagging indicators. So you know your click-through rates, you know your cost per landing page view, you know your cost per add to cart, then you can figure out what's your cost per purchase going to be. So ideally you would have some of that data going into the Q4. It's not the first campaign you run. You need to do a little warm-up before you do the race. So that's my kind of advice for people. Know your numbers, have a spreadsheet. Spreadsheets help to keep you sane. And then you can say, okay, I'm not reacting emotionally. Oh, this looks bad. Like, how are you deciding that this looks bad? Is it because you've seen you spent 3,000 and there's no sales coming in yet? Do you have enough add to carts at the right cost? And normally on day one, you may not see immediate return because people add to cart and then they check out, and there's a little bit of lag between reporting as well. So you're behind with seeing the actual data. Obviously, we can have access to your backend and check there, but yeah, there's a lot involved and you need to have some sort of baseline. If you don't have your own baseline, go and do research with Claude or AI or whatever and say, okay, I am in this industry, I'm selling this, what are the benchmarks, what I should be aiming for? And that will be at least a good starting point.
I like that. One of the most frequent questions I have from people when we're running Black Friday is, why are my open rates so low? And it's very frustrating. and scary to look at the dashboard, and clients go in and they look like we've only been sending it for 2 hours, 4 hours, 6 hours. They're like, oh no, it's 20%, 30%, 40%. And a few years ago, before I was able to experience many different Black Fridays with different creators, different industries, different send times and geographical locations, whatever, I would freak out a lot. A lot. So much. But then in the last 2 years, I know that the baseline is that open rates do go lower, they drop, and they don't happen instantly, right? Most people don't instantly open your email, so it actually needs a few hours until you can see the pattern. So, yes, that's one of the best pieces of advice possible. But I also know how overwhelming Black Friday is, and we're talking from marketer to marketer. But many people don't start in August because we're recording in August now to think about Black Friday and about Q4. So most people start doing things in October. And if they do follow like the roadmap, they have to re-engage their email list, they have to build all kinds of assets, and we're not even talking about the ads yet, but like
Yeah.
sales funnels, offers, onboarding, all of those things. What are some tools that can help people stay sane throughout these very overwhelming and fast forwarding kind of motion where you have to handle Black Friday and probably life, and if you're in the US, like you have Thanksgiving coming, so there are so many moving pieces. How do you stay sane? And now that you are a coach and you're doing that, what are you telling people? What's a quick implementation tool that can help you figure out, am I maybe reacting out of fear? Am I too tired to think properly?
I do have a quiz that people can take and see where they're at based on their nervous system. Like, am I all good? Am I regulated? Am I in this best state possible? Am I actually now in stress or chronic stress? Or am I already in burnout? So when I work with my clients, I tell them to think about Black Friday, well, the whole of the pretty much Q4. September is like when things start happening, and then October, November, and even December are important months from promotion perspective and how much time you're gonna need to spend on that. So you really need to start prepping now. Like, you need to prep your body physically. We are human batteries. To do all the things, we need energy. Like, our brain consumes more energy than any other organ in the body, any process in the body. So thinking uses a lot of energy. And then if you layer just on top of the just regular thinking, you layer the stress on top to produce the stress hormones, adrenaline, cortisol, to then deal with all the effects of those processes. Body needs a lot of energy. How do we get energy? We need a good sleep, we need good nutrition, we need hydration, we need supplements. Like, I know that a lot of times, people, when they're stressed, all the good habits go through the window. They're gonna grab a pizza, they're gonna have a glass of wine to chill after the stressful day, and all of that then adds another stressor, another load for the body. The body's already doing so much work clearing all the stress impact, and now we're adding more stress. So it's one, trying to be as healthy as you can. It's the communication with your, not just with your team and your clients, if you have a client, but also communication with your family. Like, people in the US, for them, it's not just Black Friday sales, it's the whole Thanksgiving, and it's family time. And I know there could be a lot of friction. If one person is running a business, the partner may not necessarily understand the pressure of that season. So it's communicating clearly and having some plan for the post promotion, post Black Friday sale, saying, okay, I won't be as available as I would like to be for the family stuff. So let's plan something afterwards that we can still connect and still, nurture that part of your life. Like, work is one part, and then there's still everything else. So communication is super important. And then there is the piece of being in the best state possible. And the best state is when we are regulated. It's called parasympathetic nervous system state. And there are tools, very simple body-based tools that people can use. For example, breath, like 4-6 breath. So you breathe in on a count of 4 and you breathe out on the count of 6, and you do it for a minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Depends how much time you have available. But every time we can slow down the out breath, we are telling our body that we are safe enough, like we are not in any danger. We can switch off that fight flight response, and just even doing this sort of breath for a minute every hour or every time you remember can pull you out of being overreactive, of making changes when the changes don't need to be made, when you need to keep steady. So it's understanding your whole body, the signals. Am I tensing? If I'm tensing, that means I'm going into this hyperactive state. I need to find a way to calm down. Maybe it's going for a walk around the block for 5 minutes. Maybe it's the breath work. Maybe it's if you've got too much energy going on, maybe you go and put your favorite music track and you dance like crazy. It's like, and that gets the adrenaline out of the system. How well do you know yourself and what your body is telling? So as much as you prep for from the campaign perspective, you also prep your body and your mind to take this extra amount of load. Because if you don't, that will be the straw that breaks the camel's back. After, I see a lot of marketers, media buyers, after Black Friday, they get ill, they collapse, maybe they take time off, and then, okay, my body is just now telling me how much I've been pushing and how much attention it already needed, and it's like, okay, now it's already too late. So now I need to really stay in this, either being sick or being exhausted, until I can get my energy back. So why not push, give enough energy beforehand so you don't run out and you don't break.
I'm nodding because for 2 or 3 years, I used to hate Black Friday because everything was happening last minute. Best case scenario, we would start preparing in mid-October, which still meant we had very little time. And then last year, we actually started working with my clients in September. And I remember there were many of them who were like, it's September. And I'm like, yes, and we are late. We need to start doing things. And then the closer we got to November, the better we all felt because we had answered to most of the important questions. We had already tested demand for specific things. We already had a really nice team. It wasn't just throwing a discount. We were able to implement tools like heat maps on those pages so we could collect the data. We had time to research to figure out, okay, what else can we do to improve results? We had multiple segments to work with. So that was very neat. And for the first time in 7 years, I think, I was actually able to buy something for Black Friday. It wasn't on Black Friday, but it was the weekend of Black Friday. And I was a little bit like, will these offers still be available? But it's still like a huge improvement compared to other years when I would be so exhausted that I would spend like the first 2 weeks of December, I would be like in limbo, and then I couldn't even enjoy the holidays. So I had a few years where I didn't have Christmas gifts for people because my mind didn't have space to think
Yeah.
about that. And it would be like, oh, wait, Christmas is tomorrow. So yeah, that kind of sucked. I know your backstory, but I think it would be interesting if you want to share. How did you go from top media buyer? I know you had huge budgets on your hands to coaching high performers on how to deal with stressful situations and how to actually have more fun in their careers, whether they're like entrepreneurs, authors, coaches, marketers?
So I got into Facebook advertising about 12 years ago. And first I was just working with in the UK with the government campaigns, small businesses. And then I got my dream job. And that was a big advertising agency in the States. It was super exciting. It's like I was working with some exciting clients. I had an amazing team. And also, I felt like I had a lot of proof. How do you go from spending $100 a month and then all of a sudden you're spending maybe 10,000 a day? So it was a huge shift. So that brought up a lot of imposter syndrome, all of the insecurities, all of the need to prove my value. And with Facebook ads, you don't turn them off on the weekend. So it was about maybe 14 months of this. It was exciting. I was working on things that I was interested in, but it also at the same time was exhausting because even at the end of the day, I would not be able to switch off. There was either more stuff to do than there was time available, or something's not working that you then constantly have to think and try and fix in your mind. And then there was also another layer of international team. So we had some people in Australia and we have people in California. So doesn't matter what time of the day it is, there's someone's working. So it felt, oh, if someone else is working, then if I'm not working, then maybe I'm lazy or what people gonna think. So there was a lot going on, like externally, that was really impacting me internally because I hadn't done my personal work by then. So all of this external environment was showing me what I needed to work on, but I didn't think about it that way. So it led me to burnout. The first burnout was, it ended dramatically. It was very dramatic. It was like a day as usual, getting up early. I remember I had a call with my Australian manager and we tried to coordinate Australia and California. So like I got up at 5 o'clock in the morning, something crazy. And then it was day as usual. And then we had our team call that was like 6 p.m. my time. And then we finished the team call and I went to check the account that was spending like 50 or 70,000 a day. I was like, okay, you need to keep an eye on these things. And I looked at the Facebook dashboard and I saw the numbers, but my brain didn't compute. I recognized the numbers, but I didn't know what they meant. What is this? Like, how am I supposed to make any decision? My mind, my brain just switched off. And then immediately after, I felt this almost like a metal band go across my forehead and squeezing, and it was the pain. And then there was a panic of what the hell is happening? What is it? I had never had this experience before. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know how long it lasted. I felt I have to still make a living. I also have to keep working. I can't let my team down or my clients. And that was one of the scariest experiences I had. And for about 2-3 months, I couldn't work more than maybe 2 hours a day without having severe headaches. I was exhausted. It took a long time. Even things like I couldn't watch a movie because the strain on my eyes was too much. So anything screen related was like a no-go. And I realized how much of our lives is on screen. Everything is on screen, mostly like the work, the entertainment, the life you need to run, just doing grocery shopping online and things like that. So those were very long 2-3 months because every day you think, is it going to get better? And when it doesn't, there's this anxiety and panic. On the outside, I'm very calm and collected, but on the inside, it's like, I don't know what's happening and I don't know how long it'll happen. So eventually, over those few months, I got back to the not a nice regulated state where I had enough energy. I went back to that pre-burnout state where over there everything takes so much more effort when you are exhausted. The thinking, the decision making, the clarity of thought, the enjoyment of life as well. And then within probably less than a year, I felt, okay, I'm slowly creeping back to that burnout. And I don't see how I can continue staying in my position. I was director of media buying. I was managing a team of 10 people by then who had 3 to 5 accounts each, and I had to oversee everything. And I had to leave and find a much less demanding and less actually interesting job. So after I recovered, I really started looking at what was it. You can read online what burnout is, but really burnout is complete energy depletion. Your body says to you, it's not beneficial for you to stay in this stressed state because you'll be causing yourself more damage, so we'll just unplug you for a little bit. So that's what it is. It's energy conservation. But I didn't know that at that point, and that's why it took me long to get out of the burnout, and then it took me to the next burnout because I wasn't aware what my body needed and what my nervous system needed. So that's why I am so passionate about talking about this, because it's experience that people can avoid if they can just implement some practical steps in their daily life and prevent something that is, once it's emotionally difficult and can cause a lot of anxiety. Two, it's also very damaging internally, like from the immune system perspective and the digestive perspective and all the hormone perspective. So there's so much we don't see inside that is happening when we go from this chronic stress to burnout.
I was listening to you and realized that I've never hit the rock bottom, let's call it like that, where I had to be hospitalized or where I couldn't function for months. But I think most of us are on the verge, and then we stop or something happens where we do take a few days to recharge, and then we go back at it.
A lot of entrepreneurs I see, they are it's what I call functional burnout. So they're not completely, as you say, bedbound, and there are people who get there, but they use stress to get energy. You wake up in the morning, you feel tired, you go for coffee to wake you up. And coffee is very good at giving you adrenaline, shot of adrenaline. So adrenaline then gives you energy. So adrenaline on itself is not bad. We need adrenaline. Imagine you crossing the road, you see the car, you need adrenaline to give you a bit of a boost to run. So in short bursts, adrenaline and cortisol are very useful. You have a deadline. It's like, okay, let's push. But then you need to replenish the energy that you used up. And what we do day in and day out is, I am tired, so I'll use coffee, I'll use sugar, I'll use a lot of foods that we reach for them because they give us what we need in the moment. We need energy, we need to feel better. Sugar gives us temporary serotonin, which is feel-good hormone, but at the long term it depletes you from that as well. Our body knows what to grab for, but when we keep grabbing it for years and years instead of, I just need it momentarily, that would be fine. It's the not listening to what our body is telling us that gets us in trouble in the first place.
Back a few years when I was struggling to survive through Black Friday, and I would get asked by people, what would you like for Christmas? I think even at some point when I was working in the agency, what would you like as a bonus? I asked for coffee, like a good supply of coffee, because that's what I would mostly drink throughout Q4. Not good though. So you've gone through those two burnouts. You ran this department where you had 10 people under, each running 3 to 4 accounts. I assume each account spending a lot of money. You've gone through all of that. For a while now, you've been focusing more on coaching, but you've also ran some ads accounts. So I'm really curious, what has changed now in your approach to strategizing and implementing and auditing ad accounts, knowing what you've been through before? Do you find yourself going back into some old patterns, or is it like, oh no, I know what that is?
It's very different compared to what it was back then and now, like probably 5 years apart. I have no issue setting boundaries. When I'm stopping working, when I will have my latest client calls, I've learned to say no. It wasn't even learning to say no, it's not feeling guilty when you say no. So that made a big difference. It's not attaching my worth to the results. I don't look at the poor performance as a reflection of me being not even a bad person, like I'm not good enough. I know what I know. I know I'm one of the best in the field. If I can't get these results, I don't think anyone else would get these results. Plus, I don't take responsibility for the whole performance just on myself. There's so many moving pieces. Ads is like 10% of the whole success of the business of performance. It's like there's funnels, there's offers, there's also world events, there's live events for the customers. Try selling stuff in summer. If your audience is mom with kids who are on school holidays, it's near impossible unless you're selling a swimsuit. So it's understanding all of that, like the not take responsibility for what's not your responsibility. Don't think that you are the number on the dashboard. Set boundaries, communicate clearly with the client. I know that in the past, I used to be afraid going on client calls. It's like, oh, they're gonna blame me. And it's like, no, it's a partnership. They hired me because they believe that I have what it takes to run their accounts and to make the business successful. And now I see it as a partnership. Okay, I can analyze what's working, what's not working. I can take responsibility. Okay, this is actually, I need better ads, or I need better offer, or I need a better landing page. So when you can remove all the personal from work, then work becomes just work. And you don't have so much emotion attached to each of the tasks, and then the energy that you need to complete those tasks becomes much less. So then you're less tired and you can think better. It's like day and night. If I've done all that work and if I knew what I know now back when I worked for that agency, it would have been a very different outcome. But then I am also grateful that I had that, because I love coaching and I love what I do now, and things happen because they need to happen at the same time.
Talking about that, because that was a high performing job, do you think it would be possible to have that position and then implement all these things you've shared and still be effective? Because I assume you were working a lot more than the regular 8 to 5.
Yeah, I was probably working good 10 hours at least a day. I think it is possible. It's harder. It depends who you work for, what kind of organization, what are the culture. If your boss expects you to work 12-hour days and you push back and you say only work 8, then there might be disagreements, and eventually they're going to say, okay, we want people who work 10, 12-hour days. But then it's also, if there is a misalignment, then not staying longer in a job where you know what your ability and your skill level, and you say, okay, this is not working out for me, I'll go and find a better job. So I think it's that having that confidence in your own ability to figure stuff out. So it's the growth mindset and self-trust, like whatever the situation, I will figure out. Maybe short term it's not going to be an ideal solution, but I know that in the long run I will be better off leaving rather than staying. And a lot of people stay in less favorable situations because the devil, it's better than like what is the unknown. And I think people can trip themselves up in that respect. Like, I'll just stay because I know how they are. And it's like, I am unhappy, but I'll probably will be unhappy in the next job as well. Okay, then work on your unhappiness in this place. And then once you work through your personal stuff, then maybe you'll see a different way out.
That sounds like it requires a lot of courage as well.
It does. It does. But I think at least the people I work with, people that get attracted to either running their own businesses or being in performance marketing, if they can just look back through their life and find all of the examples that they had something so difficult that they overcome, and I think those examples would give them the confidence that actually, yeah, I can do hard things and I can overcome these different adversities. And sometimes it's still scary, but you still do it. It's taking calculated risks. I don't say to people, oh, you just leave this job. No, have a plan. For us to stay regulated, we need to have a plan, because otherwise we'll go into this overwhelm and into shutdown, and then from there you can't make a decision that will be good for you either short term or long term. So it's looking back, finding all the examples where you overcame something and building your trust, and then having a very good plan and implementing it. And that feeling of being trapped is the same as burnout, just from the mental perspective.
I like that, because I think what entrepreneurs and high performers do have in common is we both want growth. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we're willing to chase that growth at the expense of many other things and end up trapped, just like you mentioned. We're coming close to the end of this episode, and I have two more questions. The first one is, what's the minimum viable thing an entrepreneur, a course creator, a marketer can do to make sure they navigate Q4 without risking their health, their emotional regulation, and well-being? What would that be?
One, from a biology perspective, go and buy a good quality magnesium and start just with that. Like, magnesium is, for me, is like a miracle supplement that supports the nervous system, supports energy. It, from top of my head, involved in 300 different processes in the body. So if people are not taking any supplements, then go and get high quality magnesium that will support some of the functions that will be needed in the prep and during high stress environments. And from the regulation perspective, like regulating nervous system, just 4-6 breath. I don't want people to get lost in different tools. Every time you feel like you're tensing up and you're going into overthinking and maybe like the looping thoughts, just sit somewhere quietly and do a couple of rounds, like 10 rounds of 4-6 breath, so to switch you back into this regulated state. And then from the like very practical perspective, from marketing wise, go and look at the data, like past data. I'm sure there's plenty, like from what worked organically to what worked in emails. Like, just spend a day looking, thinking, maybe send a survey to your clients, ask them, and like these 3 things will be a good base to what's coming up. And maybe after Black Friday, plan something fun, so there's something to look forward to.
Thank you, Rita. Now for my last and most important question. Where can people find you or learn more about your work?
They can go to my website, ritaainsworthcoaching.com. There is a quiz, so they can take the quiz, they can see where they're at right now, and that will give them a good indication how much they need to support themselves. That based on their situation, they will get also some tips on how to get to the best state possible. So they can do that. Or they can also follow me on LinkedIn, Rita Ainsworth.
Oh, thank you, Rita. Thank you for being on Master the Inbox. In this season of the podcast, we're focusing on strategies to help course creators, coaches, and consultants run successful Black Friday campaigns. And if you found this episode useful, then please help us spread the word, share, and subscribe wherever you're listening.